My first reaction to this scandal, this Catholic abuse scandal, latest Catholic abuse scandal in Pennsylvania, was now I know why Pope Francis is against the death penalty. He can't afford to lose that many priests. This is just if to read the details, and I'm not going to go into the horrific details, although I am going to talk about what those details mean a little bit. This is just an absolutely blistering report by a grand jury. Good job to Joshua Shapiro, a liberal Democrat. I hate to say it, but he did a great job. And the grand jury, you could just tell their hearts were bleeding as they talked about this. This is over 300 priests they found with over 1,000 victims, and those are just the ones that they really felt they had the goods on. They said there were probably thousands of victims all throughout Pennsylvania, 6 counties, I think it was, all throughout Pennsylvania. It's just stories. The story is basically this, that priests were grooming, raping these children, mostly boys, but some girls as well. And the diocese and the bishops were doing everything, had developed an actual system for how to cover this up. 70 years, a lifetime. This went on. This went on for a lifetime. I will let Shapiro just describe some of the things that they found.
The cover-up was sophisticated. And all the while, church leadership kept records of the abuse and the cover-up. These documents from the diocese's own secret archives formed the backbone of this investigation, corroborating accounts of victims and illustrating the organized cover-up by senior church officials that stretched, in some cases, all the way to the Vatican. The term secret archives is not my term. It is how the church officials themselves referred to the troves of documents sitting in filing cabinets just feet from the bishops' desks.
So whenever these horrific stories come out, the problem is the question that I ask myself is, how do we speak about this usefully without devolving into virtue signaling outrage? Because people spend time trying to find words to express the evil of it, how horrible it is. And really underlying that is just our desperate desire to communicate to one another that we are not these people, that we are the righteous. And that's why we just want to express the outrage and describe this in the worst terms we can possibly come up with. And of course, there are no terms. There are no words for something like this. And I'm not righteous. That's the other thing. No one is righteous. No, not one. And I'm not righteous. And I'm not trying to signal to you that I am a righteous person. But I think we all know what this is. We all know this is satanic evil. We all know that this is the depths of evil. So I want to I was thinking, like, how do you talk about this in a useful way? And I'm not a Catholic, though I am very friendly with Catholic theology. But let me just talk about some of this stuff. I mean, every mailbag day, I make the same joke. I say that these answers will change your life, possibly for the better. And the basis of that joke, as I've explained before, is that when you say to somebody, this will change your life, it is immediately taken as a positive thing. Even if you're talking to Tom Cruise, right, who's the richest, biggest superstar on earth, can have anything he wants, and people treat it. If you say to him, hey, Tom, read this book, it'll change your life, he'll read the book. He will read the book. Why? Because all of us know that we are not who we're supposed to be. This raises profound questions. That means, who is it that you're supposed to be? What is the perfect Andrew or John or Mary who you are not? And how do you know that person? And how do you know that person is there and that you're supposed to be that? All those things are very profound questions once you start thinking about them. And I believe that, this is why Jesus said, suffer the little children to come unto me, for if such the kingdom of heaven made, not because children are so innocent. We all know children are not innocent. What they are is they are closer to that original person before history destroys them, before abuse or just the vagaries of human life turn them into something else, right? When we look back, we think, oh, I'm doing this, I have this bad habit because of things that happened to me, but this good habit I have, my ability to sing, well, that I was born with. We all know this. We all know that there was something we were made in fashion to be in the womb that is better than what we are. And every day, I will tell you, I don't like to get too personal about this stuff, but every day I pray that God will bring me closer to that person He made me to be, because that original me that He made, and will get me past it. So this Sunday, I experienced a small miracle. I believe that miracle is the absolute right word for it, but it is a small miracle, right? I was in church. I haven't been to church in a long time. I've talked about the fact that I'm at odds with the Episcopal Church because I believe that their leadership has become a bunch of social justice warrior goombas who are basically have replaced their personal morality. They've replaced the gospel with their personal take on morality. And I don't care what they think. I really don't, what their personal opinions are, but I think the gospel should rule. If you're running a church, I think you should be paying attention to the gospel. But I believe in the liturgy, which is the kind of the way the prayer, the pattern of the prayer, and it's very much in the Episcopal Church, especially the one I go to, it's a very Catholic liturgy, and that liturgy carries you through to the Mass, and I believe in taking the Mass, so I went to church. And while I was there, I was actually singing a hymn, which I do incredibly badly. And while I was singing a hymn, I felt an old, from the beginning of my life, an old error of perception of myself literally lifted off me and taken away. And a sudden unity of personhood came to me that I understood. It wasn't just an experience. I understood intellectually what was happening, and I realized that this was Christ answering my prayer. That I pray every day. He answers it in many, many different ways all the time. But listen, I've done a lot of different things to try and put myself together over time. And I've talked to you about the fact that the first part of my life was really unhappy and really twisted, and since then it has been increasing joy, increasing wholeness, and along that journey, I tried psychotherapy, which changed my life. It was great. I tried Zen meditation, absolutely great. I recommend meditation and therapy to anybody who does it well. But nothing has been like the experience of Christ, because it's not healing me psychologically. I no longer need that, thank God. It's not healing my ability to pay attention, which meditation does. It is actually a spiritual healing that seems to like almost eradicate, not entirely, but eradicate many of the effects of the past. And I know you all understand what I'm saying, because I know each and every one of you has problems that come from your past. Each and every one of you has demons and things that adhere to you from history that you don't want. So I felt this thing lifted off, and I realized that this is the presence and the work of Christ in my life. Jesus is the center of my religion, and my relationship with Jesus is the center of my religion. Now, I say this is the Nicene Creed, I believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. And in the Nicene Creed, that word Catholic means universal. It means there is one church covering us all. But I don't believe that the Roman Catholic Church necessarily is that church. There was a time in the West, especially, of course, there was a time when the Roman Catholic Church was that church. If you were part of Christendom, you were part of the Roman Catholic Church. With the Protestant Reformation, that changed. There was a splintering of churches, and this hostility still goes on. We still have conversations here where the Catholics and the Protestants are fighting with each other. I never care about those conversations. Why? Because I just want to get to Jesus. If you get to Jesus through the Catholic Church, if another person gets to Jesus through the Lutheran Church, great. But I will tell you this. Catholics are always telling me, jokingly, but still kind of annoyingly, are always telling me they are the one true church. I don't believe that, but I do believe when they call it the mother church, that it is the mother church. All the other churches come from the Catholic Church. And even the most anti-Catholic theologian I know, who's probably our God King, Jeremy, he is a Catholic. He doesn't know it, but he's a Catholic. He's really arguing at the fringes of Catholicism. It is really Catholicism that explained and created the structure of Christianity, Western Christianity as we know it, and all the other churches came out of rebelling against that. So in the same way you can rebel against your mom, you still come out of your mom. And the Catholic Church remains the Catholic Church, and that makes it the mother of churches, and that makes it all of our business. That is why we all pay attention to the Pope. That is why we all have a stake in what happens there. And when you look at what happened in these Pennsylvania things, and again, I'm not going to get into all the incredible detail, but it had the stamp of true satanic evil. And now I studied the Holocaust a long time, just trying to understand it as a Jew, just trying to know what that was about. And there are certain things, certain touch that the devil has that just marks these things. It has to do with wit in a way. It has to do with a kind of evil wit. I always say, I'm somebody who doesn't take a lot of things seriously. I make a lot of jokes about a lot of things. And I always say everything in life is funny except other people's suffering. And the reason I say that is because we're all joking at at the world's corruption. We're all joking at the terrible things that people do. And why is that funny? It's funny for the same reason it's funny to see a guy in a tuxedo slip on a banana peel. Same thing I started out by saying. We all know we're supposed to be something better than we are. And when we see a politician taking money and selling services, when we see people abusing each other, there's something like funny about watching somebody who should be an angel descending into corruption. But when you're laughing at that, you're laughing along with God, because God is looking at this thing and saying, oh man, it's right here for you. All the good stuff is right here for you, and you're going that way, and there's something comical about that. But when you look at it from the other side, and you look at the people who are being hurt by that corruption, you look at the people who are being hurt by that cruelty, you're looking at the people who get hurt, it stops being funny, right? That's when you're not laughing with God. That's another kind of laughter. And there's something about the way these priests abuse these children that had a kind of wit to it, a kind of invention to it that is always, to me, the mark of evil, the mark of true, genuine evil. They used to yell at me here at the Daily Wire when we'd get in these arguments backstage. Now they yell at me because they think I'm a little too easy on Trump sometimes. But then they would yell at me because they thought I was too easy on Obama, because I would never say Obama was evil. I used to say, look, I've seen evil. I really have. I've sat across the table from people who would put a bullet in your kneecap. I know what evil looks like. Obama was a goon. He was a corrupt guy in a lot of ways, and he was ignorant of what makes the country work, but he was not an evil person. This stuff is the real deal. This is the real deal. And what does it do? What does it do? It puts up a barrier. I was talking about the work of Christ in my life. That's what I started out talking about. That's what Christ does. That's what Christ does. He does that work in your life. He does that work in your life. He brings you closer to that person you were meant to be, that you know you're not. Every word that you say is meant to disguise the fact that you know you're not. You think you're hiding from your brother, your sister, that you're ashamed. You think you're hiding that stuff from everybody, that you don't feel quite right, that you wake up in the middle of the night and think, I'm not who I'm supposed to be. You're not hiding it, because we all feel the same thing. We're all spending a lot of our energy hiding that from one another. But you can't hide it from Christ. He will help you. He will bring you closer. But when you can look at the Catholic Church and say that this is what it is, that the mother of churches is this, that gets in the way. That what's the word? Disgraces the word of God. I won't say it. I won't say it. Let Jesus say it. This is what he said. He said, "What sorrow awaits you, you teachers of religious law, and you Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut the door of the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. You won't go in yourselves, and you won't let others enter either. What sorrow awaits you, teachers of religious law, and you Pharisees, hypocrites, for you cross land and sea to make one convert, and then you turn that person into twice the child of hell you are yourselves." So listen, I listen to Catholics. You know what? Let's pause here for just a minute, and CBS had interviews with the victims. Just pause here for just a minute and let them talk about what happened to them when they were children. And you'll see they're grown-ups, and one of them is the mother of a boy who died, and it starts with her.
My son was 15 when it started. His hell was right here on earth.
Judy Devon says the death of her son Joey 3 years ago can be traced to what happened to him as a teenager.
Because of the way he was, and I'm not going to say abused, I'm going to say the way he was raped. At age 17, his back was injured. There's nothing they could do surgically. And because of the pain medication, his death was caused by an accidental overdose.
The word abuse gets thrown around. We're talking rapes.
Julianne Bort and Mary McHale both say they were molested by priests at their Catholic high schools.
My abuser, when he took his collar off, he told me that he could do whatever he wanted to do.
And you believed him, your child.
And I believed him, yeah.
The collar is still a trigger for me. They murdered something in me. Something died. Everything I believed died.
Right. She took away her faith. They did what Jesus said, they closed the door of heaven. And by the way, all these innocent priests, Rod Dreher, who's a good Catholic writer, who's been on the show, he put up a list of tweets from a Father Philip DeVous, I guess it's pronounced Devous. He says, I've given my whole life to serving Christ in his church. Since beginning the seminary in 1994, every year has brought fresh revelations of the darkest corruption, along with criminal moral perversion coupled to unbelievable levels of incompetence. Then I read the papers or catch the evening news, and I see cardinals and bishops that I know for a fact are lying with impunity, deploying weasel words and fake emotions. I mean, that's what I see, too, when I see them coming out and saying this stuff. You know, I hear, the Pope said the latest silly thing that he said that has nothing to do with Catholic law. And I think, why aren't you cleaning this up? So here's the thing, I get into debates with Catholics sometimes, and they're very good at arguing, and they've got 2,000 years of doing it. And I hear them say things like, well, there are more child abusers in the teaching profession, or just as many in the teaching profession as in the Catholic Church, or whatever they say. That doesn't wash. That doesn't wash. If you are stopping people, if you are closing the door to the kingdom of heaven, you are committing a sin against the Spirit that is immense. And if you're the mother of churches, it affects us all. It bleeds down unto us all. So the enemy is not like the editorialist who goes off and, in outrage against the Catholic Church. The enemy is not me when I say these things. The enemy is the devil who is in your church. He is in your church. This has got to be pulled up root and branch. I mean, it shouldn't be, God bless Joshua Shapiro, the AG in Philadelphia, for the work he's doing. It shouldn't be a guy named Shapiro who's doing this work. It should be a guy in the church. Your Pope should be doing this every day. This is the work he has been given to do. This is 70 years of cover-up, 70 years of rape, 70 years of taking away from people their path into the kingdom of God. That little miracle that happened to me on Sunday and has been happening to me ever since I accepted Christ in my life. You are depriving people of that by allowing every day this is allowed to go on. This evil is evil in a million ways, but mostly not just for the people it destroys, of course, but also for the fact that it keeps others. It destroys the pathway of faith to God. And it is on the Catholic Church now to go after this root and branch. This can't be about a bunch of, as the priest said, weasel words. It can't be about a bunch of posing. I mean, it's the Boston Globe is exposing this, and that was like 10, 15 years ago. And now the Philadelphia AG is exposing this. This is the work of the Pope. This is the work of the Church, and they should be doing it. And they should be doing it for us all. We are all depending on you because you are the mother of all churches.